If I don't love you, blame yourself. That's intense, right? Well, bear with me because today's tale goes deep into heartbreak, strength, and the unvarnished truth about one of TV's most closely watched families. Hi, guys. Welcome back to the channel. If you haven't already, don't forget to press that subscribe button and thumbs up this video. I promise you won't want to miss what we're going to discover together. Did you ever witness a family disintegrate on national TV, only to pick up the broken pieces and hug each other tighter? That is exactly what last week's Sister Wives episode provided. Devoted viewers who've been along with the Browns through the years of turmoil were left reeling as the family openly dealt with the tragic loss of Garrison Brown. No one saw it coming. In a remarkable display of vulnerability, the Brown family permitted TLC cameras to film their loss, providing a glimpse into their sorrow as they grieved the loss of a son, a brother, and a cherished family member. And just when you think you've witnessed raw emotion already, Janelle Brown showed us what true strength is. As always, she was the rock that kept her loved ones grounded. Last week, we saw her courageously recount the day her world came crashing down. The phone call that brought news no mother should ever have to receive. Welcome, the TLC's wives. In spite of the intolerable grief, Janelle's candor regarding her emotions and her journey resonated with viewers. Time has gone by, but the hurt remains, and fans have discovered her strength to be genuinely admirable. While the one-year anniversary of Garrison's death went by, Janelle turned to Instagram following Sunday's show to express her gratitude to her fans for their boundless kindness and support. She acknowledged it had taken a while to come to terms with the fact that they had done all they could. She recounted of a battle many secretly face, the cruel power of the mind to sow hopelessness in the heart where circumstances argue otherwise. It was a moment of candor many would identify with, reminding us how messy grief can be. Just when it seemed like the story couldn't get any more emotional, Janelle shared a decision that might surprise many. After spending a week in Flagstaff, surrounded by constant memories of her son, she realized it was time for a new beginning. Everywhere she turned, there were reminders of Garrison, and while those memories were precious, they also made moving forward impossible. As the episode progressed, audiences also learned that Garrison had been fighting silent demons during the COVID-19 pandemic. Janelle shared that he would at times resort to binge drinking, resulting in hazardous blackouts. It's a sad reminder of how personal battles can quietly devour even the strongest minds. In a heartwarming closing moment, Janelle revealed her appreciation for the constant support and love from fans. She confessed that though healing is a slow process, kindness from strangers and dedicated viewers has allowed her to get through the impossible days with less difficulty. And if you believe that this is the end of the Brown family's saga, think again. There's plenty more to come, and you don't want to miss it. So be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to get your feedback. Janelle Brown posted a message to her followers that resonated on a deep emotional level. She spoke of the wonderful significance of her children, and particularly her grandchildren, as the real wellspring of life in her existence. She said to her viewers that her belief promises her that she will see Garrison again one day, and that faith gives her a sense of peace she clings to. In a heartbreaking revelation, Janelle shared about the last day of Garrison's life. Viewers learned more than they ever anticipated from the most recent Sister Wives episode, as Janelle, accompanied by her daughter Maddie, discussed those last few hours in tearful detail. She had shared that she and Garrison had been texting each other throughout the day, something that was not unusual between them. It was actually routine. They talked several times a day. Have you ever gotten a bad feeling about someone you love, only to rationalize it away? That's what happened to Janelle. She remembered Garrison struggling for some time with depression and anxiety, but the last time they spoke was like any other. Janelle took the initiative to call often, to check in, to be a lifeline for him when times were hard. She felt connection counted, and it did. The scene showed something even die-hard viewers didn't realize. Garrison had been drinking a great deal that night, and since this wasn't an infrequent habit in his downtimes, Janelle wasn't concerned when his responses abruptly ceased. Throughout the night, she was comforted in the knowledge that his brothers, Hunter and Logan, had vowed to check on him. Have you ever thought of a loved one being in good hands, only to later discover that life had other sinister plans in store? That's what makes this account hit even harder. Janelle explained to the cameras that Garrison cycled. Some days he was wonderful, and then, without warning, he'd slide into a binge. It was a heartbreaking cycle, one the family quietly hoped would pass with time. Unfortunately, the following morning, Janelle was delivered the devastating news that Garrison had committed suicide. In the face of agonizing loss, what caught fans' attention was Janelle's poise, particularly in how she discussed Cody Brown. Sister Wives viewers have not been shy about their annoyance at Cody, with a lot of fans being the first to point fingers and brand symbolic torches in his direction. Yet Janelle took the high road. Garrison, likewise, was profoundly affected by his experience there. Janelle remembered how much it meant to him. Working on the ranch with family, creating memories that would later be even more meaningful. The attachment to that site made the decision seem so natural, so inevitable. Have you ever been so attached to a location that regardless of where life leads you, it remains home? That was Wyoming to the Browns. She did not use her suffering to attack or speak ill of him. Rather, she concentrated on upholding her son's memory and keeping her family intact. That sort of fortitude amidst unimaginable tragedy is something that left viewers profoundly moved. And just when you think that this family's tale can't possibly get any more real, there's even more to come in the episodes ahead. Stick with us, because you won't want to miss what's coming next. Even amidst the agony of unbearable sorrow, Janelle Brown opted to conduct the process with dignity and humility. Rather than talk badly about her former husband, the emphasis was on properly burying their dear son. After deciding at the funeral parlor, Janelle broke down in tears to divulge that she and Cody opted to cremate Garrison. It was an out-of-love choice, the knowledge that it was something he would have preferred. They both felt that it was appropriate to bury him in Wyoming, a place Garrison loved. It provided the family with an opportunity to arrange a service at a time when weather and conditions would permit family and friends to come together and pay their respects properly. In a rare, touching moment, Cody echoed the sentiment, informing cameras that he just wanted to bring his boy home. He remembered sitting next to Janelle and recommending that they bury Garrison alongside Grandma Cheryl, and everybody felt that it was the way to go. But hiding behind those emotional choices is a complex past, one that a lot of fans haven't forgotten. Plenty of viewers still hold Cody responsible for adding to Garrison's emotional struggles. Longtime followers of the show will remember how heated things became between father and son during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. Tensions over strict household rules turned into bitter arguments. At one point, Cody even tried to have Garrison move out of Janelle's home, a decision that drove an even deeper wedge between them. But through it all, Janelle was a rock-solid, immovable presence in the family. A mother of 6, she's always been the anchor, and even today, she's made sure she's going to be a light for her other children. In the midst of unimaginable loss, she's vowed to keep moving ahead and cling to her family. The grief of losing Garrison still weighs heavily over the Sister Wives family. And in a very intimate moment, Janelle addressed how they decided on Wyoming as his final resting ground. The Browns have always had strong roots on that soil. It's a place that has generations of memories for them. Janelle told us that both her mother and Cody's father are laid to rest there, so it is not only a gorgeous location, but a special one for their family as well. It seemed only appropriate that Garrison rest among those who were loved, in the same ground that's carried the Brown family's stories for years. It's the sort of choice that reminds us how, even through heartache and disunity, family bonds can bring people together when it counts. And this part of their story is far from over. Keep reading, because what comes next just might shock you. Janelle revealed something very intimate to the fans, and why it was so crucial that she laid Garrison to rest in Wyoming. Her mother and Cody's father are buried there, and for the Brown family, the Equality State will forever be a special, sacred place in their hearts. It's a land that is woven into their family history, with summers spent working the ranch and gaining life lessons that made them who they are. Maddie Brown was also on the show, reminisces about summers spent in Wyoming. She informed the audience it was likely the closest they'd ever have to actual roots, given their history of frequent relocation and constant change. To them, Wyoming wasn't a dot on the map. It was home. It's why, When Cody spoke softly, "I just want to take him home," Janelle already knew there was no need for the lengthy debates or discussions. It was the proper decision for their son. And here's a tidbit some of the newer viewers may not realize. The history of the Sister Wives family is inextricably linked to Wyoming. Cody Brown grew up and was born in Lovell, a tiny Wyoming town where he went to high school and saw up close the hardships his own parents endured living a polygamous lifestyle. It's where the family's saga started, way before reality TV came along and found them. Some of the older Brown children were born in Wyoming as well, and for a time, Cody's first 3 wives, Mary, Janelle, and Christine, all resided there. Although they eventually relocated to Lehi, Utah, those Wyoming years were profoundly significant. And talk about moves. Sister Wives fans are aware that Cody Brown has a history of moving on a whim. Although it was never really known why the family ultimately moved out of Wyoming for Utah, what we do know is that polygamous families, such as the Browns, have historically been at legal risk there. Utah is the home of approximately 38,000 fundamentalist Mormons who live plural marriage. But although rare bigamy charges were brought, it was still a third-degree felony. In truth, the Browns' hasty departure from Utah under the cover of darkness wasn't made for dramatic purposes alone. It was a security measure for their family's future. It's amazing all the history, heartache, and strength this single family holds. And just when you think you've heard it all, another piece of the puzzle is revealed. Hang on tight. There's a whole lot more to this tale. A while back in the early days of Sister Wives, there was always a shadow of fear looming over the Brown family. Cody had expressed openly that he was concerned that being openly a polygamous family would get him into legal difficulties. Indeed, on season 1, he had described how merely cohabiting with more than one wife might send him to prison. Then, the whole family dwelled in the same household under one roof, a house divided into separate rooms for every wife and children. When word began circulating that Cody was under investigation by local authorities, the family was in an uproar. Although, years after the fact, officials would verify there never was an active case pending against them, at the time, the fear was genuine enough to lead to a life-altering decision. Cody felt moving the family away and relocating to Las Vegas was the best way to stay out of the legal spotlight. But if you've kept up with this family long enough, you know Cody Brown doesn't remain in one location for very long. Although finding stability in Las Vegas, Cody once again caused unrest within his own family by choosing to relocate the entire family to Flagstaff, Arizona. The relocation infuriated almost everyone, further dividing a family already balancing on a thin line between harmony and anarchy. Then there was March 2024, a month that would forever stamp the Brown family's narrative with tragedy. That's when Sister Wives fans found out the heartbreaking news. Garrison Brown had died at just 25 years old. An animal lover and a cat fanatic, Garrison's death was a tragic shock. He took his own life after a night of binge drinking and intense emotional turmoil. Have you ever been given news so bad that it numbs you? That's what the Brown family experienced. It was Garrison's brother, Gabriel, who discovered the heartbreaking news the next morning. The Coconino County Medical Examiner's report confirmed that Garrison had died from a gunshot wound he inflicted upon himself. The autopsy also indicated his blood alcohol level was a staggering 0.307%, close to 4 times Arizona's legal limit of 0.08%. For reference, anything above 0.4% can be fatal. In the initial response, Cody and Janelle set aside their differences to issue a joint statement, an unusual combined effort at such a challenging moment. They stated, "Cody and I regret to inform you of the passing of our beloved son, Robert Garrison Brown. He was a source of light and joy to everyone who knew him. The void left by his absence is beyond words. And if the agony of losing a child wasn't already so inexpressible, the past few months in which Garrison had strained his relationship with his father only served to exacerbate the situation. It's a reminder of how fragile relationships can be and how sometimes the things left unsaid hurt the most. But this family's story, both its heartbreaks and its hopes, isn't over yet. There's still more to uncover in the chapters ahead." Sadly, Garrison and his father, Cody, never found a way to reconcile before his passing. The wounds between them remained open, unresolved, and raw. In their joint message to the public, Cody and Janelle gently asked for privacy, requesting that people join them in honoring Garrison's memory instead of focusing on the fractures within the family. On the most recent episode of Sister Wives, fans saw something they don't often get to see on reality TV: raw, honest pain. The show dropped its typical prettied-up facade to reveal the bare emotions of a family dealing with intolerable grief. It was a personal, heartbreaking page in a book that viewers have watched unfold in seasons of change, heartache, and temporary victories. This wasn't an episode about loss. It was about the unseen heaviness that grief weighs on the survivors. It traced the family matriarch, always composed, always steadfast, as she bore not only her own loss, but became the rock upon which the others leaned. While cameras recorded her silent courage, she let herself recall the frozen instant her world irrevocably changed. The dreaded telephone call every parent fears. Did you ever get a message that freezes your heartbeat in midair? That was her moment. But even despite unimaginable sorrow, as the seasons changed and the stinging of loss lessened to a dull hurt, she began to speak out. Fans have seen her change, observers discreetly remarking on the dignified way in which she has met this tragedy. In the aftermath of the show's airing, she made a series of heartfelt posts on social media to thank the myriad people who wrote in to offer their support. It took time, she conceded, but I have accepted the fact that we did all we could. It was a statement that held the weary knowledge of one who has spent sleepless nights grappling with questions without solutions. And maybe the most chilling reminder she left us was this: however intense your passion or you struggle, sometimes the wars within a beloved are waged in silence, too deep inside for anyone but you to access. It's something that probably resonated with anyone who has ever borne the burden of powerlessness in the face of a loved one's suffering. She could not help but think about a recent visit to the city, a city that was drenched in memories. Each street corner, each well-known bench seemed to be whispering his name. I felt him everywhere, she admitted. It became apparent that while those memories brought comfort, they also ripped open sores that hadn't healed. The sting of his absence clung to each familiar view. And in realizing this, she knew it was time to begin anew somewhere else. Have you ever been in a place that once made you whole, but now it reminds you how broken you've become? That was where she was. Through the eyes of the show, audiences gained a deeper understanding of the young man they'd once known as a bright, lively face on their screens. Beneath his charm and quick smile was a young heart fighting in the wake of a world turned upside down. Like so many others, Garrison battled silently against the crushing loneliness, shattered routines, and the stifling uncertainty unleashed by a global crisis. His mother recalled that sometimes the evidence of his battle was painfully obvious. There were times of obvious angst, episodes of binge drinking, and periods where his mind visibly unraveled. But rather than allowing those tough memories to define him, she preferred to recall the joy he brought into their lives. Her eyes softened as she talked of her grandchildren, small faces bearing fragments of him. They were the reason she kept going. They remind me that, even in darkest sorrow, there's still light. And by my faith, I feel like I will hold him in my arms one day. That hope keeps me grounded, she told me, quiet strength under the words. That night stripped away layers long concealed. And with the encouragement of her daughter, a woman who appeared to have inherited her mother's resilience and kindness, she mustered the strength to relive the last few hours of Garrison's life. Theirs was always a close relationship, with regular phone calls and updates. It was part of their norm, a daily stitch that connected mother and son. Ever had a conversation you didn't know would be your last? That was the thought that haunted her as she spoke. They had been texting back and forth all day, a normal rhythm between mother and son. He'd check in, she'd respond, keeping their bond alive even across the distance. That evening felt no different, with nothing out of the ordinary to raise alarm bells. In a quiet, almost whispered tone, she said, he needed connection, and I did everything I could to give that to him. When darkness fell, and the quiet lasted longer than it was wont to, she did not panic. She recognized the rhythms. Garrison's mood was an unstable cycle, sometimes steady and serene, yet at others stuck in the haze of booze and racing thoughts. It was a part of the agonizing ride they had been struggling so assiduously to share with him. There was some reassurance in the knowledge that two of her other children had intended to go and check on him before she retired for the night, a ring of care around their brother. But by morning, all this changed. The revelation struck her like a bolt of thunder, leaving her breathless and her world in pieces. Her son was dead, on his own terms, as if he'd chosen that fate to leave the world poorer for his loss. Throughout it, she remained calm. She didn't crack. She didn't blow up or lay blame. Though many fans pointed fingers at Cody, the one-time roommate and former friend who had once been a part of their household. Instead, she opted for graciousness over gall. Even as their lives had gone their separate ways, even as disputes had erupted, notably over control and differing viewpoints, they shared in the difficult choices regarding their son's goodbye. Once they had made the arrangements for the funeral home, they collectively decided that what they wanted to do reflected the love and respect they still both had for Garrison, a decision made not out of anger, but with understanding and compassion. During the process of making arrangements, they decided upon a final resting place that felt deeply significant. It was a place full of family history, where generations had found peace, and where remnants of laughter still hung in the air. "We knew he loved it there," she said quietly. It was the only place that really made sense. After much consideration, they opted for cremation. This choice wasn't impulsive. It gave them the freedom to arrange a ceremony at a more peaceful time of year, one that would give everyone the room and readiness to say goodbye in a proper manner. "It gave us time to breathe," she said. "Time to prepare. Time to really honor him." Her former husband felt the same way. He recalled sitting by her side, they both exhausted from the burden of it all, simply saying, "I want to take him home." At that time, in spite of everything that had ever driven them apart in their past, their uncompromising love for their child was the only thing that still bonded them. Under the same sky he had marveled at during life, they decided to bury him alongside another cherished family member. While others have faulted her ex-husband for choices that could have led to their son's problems, particularly in heated arguments over strict policies during the pandemic, she wouldn't allow bitterness to grow. There had been times when threats had been made to take their son away from home, memories that now cut more sharply. But throughout, she remained resolute. She was the calm anchor of her children, a haven from the storm. Her resilience lay not in denial, but in confronting her sadness. She took the pain instead of shying away from it. By embracing the intensity of her sorrow, she gained the strength to keep going, a shining light for the family at their lowest moment. While struggling with her suffocating loss, she made the everyday decision to get up, to continue to show up for the family behind. Her sorrow became a deep witness of a mother's limitless love. The cameras only picked up pieces of her story. The true story played out in the unseen moments no one witnessed. How she hesitated as she walked past his favorite places, how she cried when she believed that no one was looking, and how she gently spoke of him to her grandchildren, making his memory fresh in their hearts. Healing was anything but linear. On some days, the burden was too much to bear, memories pummeling her with relentless waves, taking her breath away. But still, she persevered, preparing meals, telling stories, making short trips with her daughters. She grew flowers he adored, kept a garden in his memory, played his favorite music, lit candles, and wrote memories into journals. In these little, private gestures, she incorporated his spirit into the tapestry of her new life. She wasn't a hero, just a mother coping with loss in the only way she could, truthfully, graciously, and with an unbreakable determination to keep going. With each change in season, so too changed the trials and brief moments of beauty, spinning new tales into the family's constant journey. For those who witnessed this chapter, the pain of this heartbreaking loss lingers long after the episode ends. It's a powerful reminder that behind every scene and storyline, real people endure very real suffering. The sudden loss of a beloved son has irrevocably changed the family, casting a shadow that still hangs heavy like thick fog. While the world may only have caught glimpses of them on reality TV, the raw humanity and tragedy they endure is undeniable and unforgettable. Off camera, the real story of a family struggling with unimaginable tragedy is often left out of sight, buried between the cameras and the edited footage. But today, A mother's voice is softly shattering that silence, giving hints at the agonizing, intimate choices she made following her son's death. Among the toughest decisions was where he would lie forever. For her, there was no other answer, and one as profound as her grief. She would lead him back to a land of green fields, warm summers, and memories thick and new as the mountain wind, where her own heart continues to find its anchor. Where she buried her son is so much more than a spot on a map. It is a crypt of ancestors and milestone events that have determined not only the life of one generation, but several. Surrounded by soaring mountains and green pastures, it contains the resting places of her forebears, among them her own mother, whose unspoken tomb testifies to the ceaseless march of time. Close by lies the former husband of her ex, a reminder that lives once bound together by religion and matrimony are forever shared under Wyoming's expansive, open skies. Here, in this land of dusty roads and sunbright fields, her son spent his early summers. Here he learned the ethic of hard work, fresh hay, and sage filling his lungs. The lessons of responsibility and grit he learned in these open expanses were nothing suburban existence could provide. His mother saw how deeply this area affected him, maybe even more than everyone ever understood. And therefore, the very ground where he initially gained a sense of identity and belonging became the inevitable location for his last rest, a resting ground that respects both life and loss. Though they most often quarreled over much, she and her co-parent did one thing in concert without the necessity of second-guessing: the choice to send their son back to the homeland which had formed him. This swift resolve gave small alleviation to already grief-filled hearts. He had a keen perception of the wordless affinity which their son possessed with this territory. There were no debates, no haggling, only a silent, shared understanding. For a man who had so many times grappled with change, this clarity was almost holy. Their daughter, a wise child, also weighed in, reminding all that in the midst of the ever-changing chaos of their lives, the moving, the uncertainty, there had been the one constant home they ever really knew: the family ranch and the limitless Wyoming skies. Year after year, as kids, they came back not for fun, but to learn the importance of hard work, pride, and responsibility. That soil was not just a memory, it was a foundation. Therefore, when the time came to determine where their son would lay, there was no need to hesitate. The father merely whispered, "I just want to bring him home." And the mother nodded silently, a promise on her lips. Her hands were shaking, and her heart was in fragments, but she did so anyway, brought her boy home. This soil is not just dirt and rock. It is where love grew, where hope found root, and where suffering etched its tale into their family's history. Few beyond their community will ever catch the whispers the wind brings here. The tales of joy, sorrow, and strength. Currently, it carries pain, yes, but it also carries peace. And for a desperate mother seeking calm, that is sufficient. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't yet, kindly subscribe to my channel and wait for daily updates.